Yo guys, Alan here, and today we're gonna have a look at engine noises of the DRZ 400, or basically any single-cylinder four-stroke bike. What is normal, what isn't, so you can figure out if you should be concerned about your bike or you just should ride it and see what happens. Have fun. So, just as a quick overview, at the beginning, we're gonna see what actually causes engine noise in such a bike. What are the main components that will cause noise, which is normal, which isn't normal, and so on. Then we're gonna have a look at signs that you should be concerned about your engine state. And at the end, we're gonna have a quick quiz. Or yeah, I'm just gonna show you some videos and you can then figure out, do you think it's normal or not? And I'm gonna then explain to you what's actually up with the bike, what state it's in, and yeah, some recordings are good, some are bad. Maybe you'll spot them. So let's see that. Okay, so first off, what are the causes of engine noise? Um, Mainly, it could be exhaust, or it could be an exhaust leak, an air leak, which causes popping and so on, which is technically not an engine noise, but it could still kind of stem from there if you have, if it just doesn't run well, stutters or pops. Um, then from the carb, the FCR has some kind of a tingling to it. You will hear that in a later video. So that's also not from the engine itself, but it could kind of seem as it's coming from that direction. Then from the engine, we do have the valves, which open up multiple times a second. There are 4 valves in there, and they are just opening and closing like hell. And of course, that can cause noise to happen, which can be completely normal, or it can't, depending on what's actually what's actually happening. Then we have the crankshaft, which of course also creates some kind of noise because that's just a metal piece turning and being under load the whole time. And when the bearings go bad, of course, they will get louder and louder and louder. And yeah, you'll hear that by just hearing some more knocking noise in the bottom of the engine. Then, of course, I mean, we don't have to, to be shy about it's a combustion engine, an internal combustion engine. Of course, it produces noise. I mean, what do you expect? There are tons of explosions, like thousands of explosions happening each minute in here, and yeah, of course, you can expect some noise coming from that. Then one last point I've noted here is the starter clutch, which is on the left-hand side where the stator sits. And actually, if that kind of gets worn, you can see that in my engine build videos, or actually in the disassembly video, you will see that if that gets worn, there's just going to be more engine noise, kind of a knocking noise coming from the left side of the crankcase. And you could think it's due to a crank bearing failure. That's what I thought at the beginning, but actually it's not. It's just that bearing going bad. So when should you actually be concerned about the state your engine is in? And one clear sign would be power loss of the engine. If you don't get out of it what you had before, a sudden power loss or just a shallow incline, then it's definitely worth digging a bit deeper and figuring out what's exactly happening. Also, if you get any knocking or pinging noise, especially under load, that means you have a pre-ignition or pre-detonation going on, which can be caused by overheating the engine, like a mixture that is too lean or it's just too hot, or it can also be the timing, which is off, or you're just using bad fuel, which basically then detonates too early. Usually you want to start the detonation before the piston even comes to top dead center and goes back down again. So you want to ignite that before so it can kind of transfer that pressure over. But if it's too early, it will always kind of push the piston back down again, and that will then cause some loud noise. And it's definitely really bad for your crankshaft and for your piston as well. So make sure that doesn't happen. Then, if you have a loud, and I mean that by capital letters, I mean that if you have a loud metallic ticking or clattering, that could be the valve clearance being off or cam chain wear, but it really needs to be loud because some ticking is definitely normal. You will hear that in a bit as well. Then if you're getting any loud whining or high-pitched squeal, that's also something to be concerned about. That's usually bound to the timing chain being too tight, or maybe the cam channels varying. That's usually the main causes of that noise. If you hear any grinding or clunking noise, like really also unregular ones, that's definitely something you need to be concerned about, especially if it's coming from your gearbox, because you don't want to give her ham and then lock up the rear wheel by just having a tooth of the gearbox kind of stopping the whole gearbox in its tracks. Sudden changes in noise levels, of course, if your bike sounds differently yesterday than it does today, or just during riding, there's a sudden change. That's definitely something to be concerned about because usually that means that something is definitely broken. And then if you get smoke out of the exhaust, that's also something you need to have a look into. If it's water vapor, it's definitely more urgent because that means that the head gasket is blown and then coolant can seep into the oil and vice versa. And that's not good. If it's just exhaust from maybe the piston rings failing or the valve shaft seals not being 100% anymore, it's not that bad. It just burns oil, which is not good for the environment and so on. But the engine can tolerate it, other than having some carbon buildup. Yeah, I guess that's it. Let's hop to the next one. So yeah, the mechanic, that was actually not me, lucky me. He rebuilt that bike. I'm not sure if he also did the bottom end or just the top end, but he rebuilt that because it has some issues before, and it made these noises. And the mechanic said it's totally normal how it sounds, and I doubt it, to be honest, because I don't think it is. I think there's an issue with the crank, or maybe maybe it's just some piston slap, that there's some free play in the piston going on. I don't think that sounds healthy, and I would definitely dig deeper into figuring out what's going on here. So I would pull the top end maybe, or maybe start with the stator side and see if there's anything you can see there. Also, a good start is always doing an oil change and see if you have a lot of metal shavings in it and so on. But sometimes you don't see them, and that's really important to check the free play of the crankshaft and stuff like that. Is that a good or a bad example? What do you think? Actually, to me, it sounds fine. It's not quiet, but it has I guess here it had the original exhaust on it, so you can also hear engine noise a bit more, and that thing is just ticking. It's definitely not new. It's got like 25,000 kilometers on the clock, which you can hear. It's definitely going to be a bit quieter at the beginning, but anyway, yeah, that's just sometimes how these engines sound. So get used to that, and make sure you're gonna notice any changes in that noise. Now with this one, I mean, I don't need to explain. That sounds unhealthy. That's something similar to what we've seen in the first video here. And I would definitely dig deeper into what's happening here. That just sounds awful, and yeah, could cause some issues in the long run. I mean, here you just get absolute chaos. You can even hear dogs barking because of that noise, because even they know it's not a good one. And the reason for that you will actually see in this video here I'm showing just now. See these metal pieces here? That's actually the valve guides disintegrating. It's the, which one was it? I guess the exhaust valve guide, which just popped. And then these metal pieces fell into the combustion chamber, and then they just smacked up and down with the piston, and luckily didn't destroy the piston or the cylinder head. That was really lucky, but still it sounded really bad. And then once that engine was rebuilt, it sounded like that. As you can hear, still some engine noise, but for 30,000 kilometers, that's completely okay. Now, let's go to this one. So maybe you heard that kind of ding, 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 which is actually coming from the FCR. And the FCR makes two noises mainly, which is the ting, ting, ting noise on idling. If it's not, usually it's much louder or loud like this. If it's not adjusted properly, if your air fuel mixture and your idle speed is set up well, then it's much quieter. But this one is something you can hear from the FCR, and also if you are giving some gas, if you're going on the throttle quickly, you can hear kind of a chirp, like a zzz, zzz, kind of some kind of that noise, and that's actually the accelerator pump just pumping in fuel to the engine. So that's normal with the FCRs. They might have some kind of a winding noise to it. So yeah, that's already all the content I do have here. Maybe I'll find some more videos and I'll post them as a short. But for now, I hope you got a good glimpse of what's normal on a DRC engine noise and what not. And yeah, let me know if in the comments if you have other ideas, or you can also send me your examples to Alan. That's ALAIN at Motomoto, MOTOMOTTO.ch. See you guys. I wish you a great day and have fun with your DRCs. Peace. Bye.